Hey there, everybody. I compiled a fun little list of milestones that we need to know about as we're heading towards retirement. I think this is extremely handy and very important that you know about these as you hit these ages as you're getting towards retirement. So let's jump right in. The first one that you're going to run into is 50 years old. So at 50, we have to know about all the higher contribution limits out there. These are typically our highest earning years. Some people are trying to retire early and figure out what they're going to do. So here you go. If you hit 50 in your 401k or work-based plan, my etc. is really what refers to all these 403bs, 457s, all these extra plans that are out there. They're work-based plans. You can put an extra $8,000 a year in there. Now, for 2026, that means 32,500. Some of these are indexed to inflation. Some of them are just arbitrarily adjusted. So check back each year to know the right amount. But the weird one that they've added now is if you're 60 to 63, you get super catch up. Super catch up. And it's not tomato based. It is $11,000 you get to put in there, 11,250. So that increases your ability to contribute to your work-based plan to 35,750. So quite a big increase. Why arbitrarily to 60 to 63? Whatever. It's the rules we live by. Then there's the individual IRA and Roth accounts. So the non-work-based plans, if you're over 50, you get to start adding an extra $1,100 a month, now totaling 8,600, not a month, sorry. 1,100 for the year. That's a total of $8,600 for the year that you can contribute to either your IRA or Roth. All right, next one. Let's jump in. We've got age 55, potential for easier penalty-free withdrawals from work-based plans. This is a weird little quirk, and I find this one can be handy for a lot of people that are trying to retire early but don't really know how. There's so many people that have piled all of their retirement savings into their 401k plan and they don't know how to retire until they hit 59 and a half because they don't have access to it. Now, there's some fancy planning things you can do out there, but this is the coolest and simplest one if you need this IRA money to fund maybe that early retirement. So, if you hit 55, okay, assuming you're going to meet these requirements, you can quit, get laid off, fired, as long as you're in the calendar year that you turn 55. Now, what happens is your work-based plan, not your IRA, not some other plan, your current employer plan that you're leaving, leave that money in there because you were allowed to take money out of that plan and that plan only. Okay? So theoretically, if you had a bunch of IRA money or old 401ks, you could transfer all that money into your current employer's plan and then quit, and you'll have access to every penny. But you got to quit in the calendar year that you turn 55 or after. So when you're 56, 57, 58, that's all fine. Okay? The crazy thing is, you can actually go back to work. So, a lot of people I help transition into retirement, and part of the plan is quit your full time stressful job and go down to a part time job to just kind of supplement the income and ease into retirement. And that seems to be a great, fun little way for people to do that. Also, people that get begged to stay in their job and quit their job, but then become a contract employee. So they get paid as if they're self-employed. So there's a lot of things that you can do with this. So if you're concerned, you think you have the money to retire, but maybe you want to ease into retirement, you want to go part-time, there's other things you can do. Well, just know that this is out there. You can hit 55 and the work-based plan that you're leaving, you will have access to with no penalty. So, neat little caveat there. Also, little known fact, there are a lot of plans out there, a lot of 401k plans out there, and the documents, even the people that run the plans don't even know this. A lot of these plans were set up to allow you to do what's called in-service rollovers. So not only in-service withdrawals or early retirement withdrawals or whatever we need, but actually do rollovers while you're still working. I facilitate these all the time trying to get prepared for retirement. The 401k has very limited investing options. And so a lot of people want to manage this money differently than what their 401k provides. And some of these plans at age 55 allow you to roll it over to your own individual IRA while you're still working, and you can keep contributing. You're still an employee, you can still contribute. And so some of these plans allow for these in-service rollovers once you hit 55. Now you're going to see on the next slide that they all are forced to allow you to do it at 59 and a half, but some of them let you start preparing at 55. So that's always a good thing to know about your plan. So here it is, 59 and a half, no early withdrawal penalties. So we don't need that little weird 55-year-old rule. No early withdrawal penalties. At 59 and a half, you're welcome to use your IRA money or Roth money as much or as little as needed. Now, Roth has some other caveats to it, the 5-year rule and some other stuff. But the reality is the early withdrawal penalty is gone, and all plans must allow in-service rollovers to prepare for retirement. Meaning tax-free, you can take your 401k money, move it over to an individual retirement account, and then you can invest it however you want to get prepared. And that's the reason for it. These plans all are allowing this because this is something that the regulators want you to be able to do. They want you to fund your own retirement. And they know that the 401ks are limited in their investing capabilities. All right, here we are, 62. So we had 59 and a half. Now we're hitting 62. 62 early or Social Security claiming is available at reduced benefits. Now, in some people's cases, this can make sense. I'm not a huge advocate of it. I know there's a lot of articles out there why I took it 62 and you should too, and all those wonderful things, these doomsdayers that think Social Security is going to be gone, all of these issues that are out there. I am a huge advocate of just knowing what you're talking about, know the rules, know what is real out there. I actually did a series with the Social Security Administration. You can go to our nonprofit website, fpfeaz.org, and go to the on-demand section. Social Security reached out to us and said, hey, I want to put together a series with you. And so we did that. So it's a nice little series, talked about Social Security. The pluses and minuses of taking at 62 is one of the parts of that series. So understand, if you take at 62, you're only going to get 70% of your full-time benefit. So not only is your benefit permanently reduced, but understand your cost of living adjustment that helps you keep up with inflation is also going to be smaller as well, because a percentage multiplied by a smaller dollar amount is still smaller dollars. And compound that for 30 years, and it does absolutely make a difference. But understand, if you're in a situation, whether it's health reasons or other, you can take at 62 at a reduced benefit. So that's 63. 63. It's time to be mindful about your income because there's a shadow tax out there. I love all these the sensationalism we have out there. My favorite thing is calling Irma a shadow tax. Here's the thing: your Medicare premiums are adjusted based on your income. And yes, it is a wealth tax. That means the more income you have, not assets, income. The more income you show on your tax return, the more you're going to have to pay for Medicare. And it really penalizes married couples even more because they increase both your Medicare no matter who the paycheck's going to. So here's the thing. They're pretty generous. Individuals, you don't have to worry about it until you hit 109,000. Married couples, 218. But once you start going off above those incomes, that's when you're going to have to start worrying about paying higher Medicare premiums. Okay, just something you need to know about. The majority of people out there, especially in retirement, aren't looking at that. But here's the thing. most people that are affected by this don't realize they're looking at 2 years ago. And you can get exceptions because, for instance, our adjustments for 2026, they're based on 2024's income. So that's why at 63, you have to pay attention because at 65, you're going to get into Medicare, which is the next slide. Yeah, see, there's so much to think about when we talk about retirement and planning for retirement. So your income at 63 will affect your Medicare premiums. But let's say you retire in 60 when you're 64. So they're going to look at 63's tax return, or yeah, 60, your age 63's tax return. You were full blown working, making the highest amount you'd ever made, but you retired. And when you're 65, you're not making the same amount of money. You can file for that exception. So just know there's lots of things that we can do with this to help avoid it. Medicare enrollment at 65. Don't delay. Get the ball rolling early. You gotta apply for Medicare Part A and Part B. Part A is hospital, it's mandatory, everybody gets it. Part B is medical insurance. Okay? It starts 3 months before your 65th birthday month and continues for 3 months after. Trust me, start in that 3 months before. You want to do this before you turn 65. Get that stuff taken care of. And also note that guaranteed acceptance for Medicare supplements. So if you're going to go with Part A and Part B, you can also apply for a supplement that covers everything Part A and Part B does not cover. So you have that, you have everything covered going forward, and you're guaranteed issue. Now, if you happen to still be working, they call this a special enrollment period. You get 8 months after you leave that job. Okay, so after your employment and or coverage ends, you have 8 months to go take care of this Part B. Part A, you got to get that applied for. General enrollment period. Well, if you forgot all of this and you messed up, well, January 1st to March 31st. But by the way, they can penalize you. And typically you'll see a 10% increase of what you have to pay forever. So don't miss this, please. Age 67 through 70, Social Security, you hit your full retirement age. If you were born 1960 or later, your full retirement age is 67. That means you get your full benefit. Okay. Once you hit 68, look at that, an 8% raise, 69, 70. So you get an 8% raise for every year you delay. And understand that's not like earning 8% in your investment account. Okay. An 8% raise means you're now creating a new base that base is then going to pay you for the rest of your life, and your cost of living adjustment is calculated based on that higher amount. So this is better than earning 8% in your investment account. This is a payment that lasts for life. So that is something to take into consideration. Now, I will tell you I will have an opinion on an individual basis, but my opinion in the broad sense, if you can wait, then wait. That's kind of the basics. If you're not healthy, take early. Okay. But there's a lot of married couple situations where it makes a lot more sense for the higher wage earner to wait as long as possible. Build a plan that works best and most efficient for you. That is what matters most here. So understand you have higher monthly benefits. They start higher, they stay higher, and they continue higher. No earning limits and penalties. Once you reach your full retirement age, there's no penalties if you go back to work or you are working. Increased spousal and survivor benefits. Again, the longer you wait, the bigger that survivor benefit is. And spousal benefits, if your spouse qualifies for less than half your full retirement age, then they'll end up getting that full benefit, which is fantastic. So there's a lot of things that we have to take into consideration when it comes to Social Security. So having a good plan and understanding the rules, that's what's important, not just listening to all the sensationalism out there and Social Security is going away. And I got news for you. If Social Security poof goes away, First of all, everybody that was elected that voted and got rid of that is not going to get reelected. Second of all, have you seen our voter base? Our voter base is pretty much all Social Security age. And second of all, the US currency is going to fall apart if we don't meet our obligations on Social Security. So we just have to understand some real basics on this. The Social Security system is not going broke at all. If you understand the deficit that we are facing, you will understand we are absolutely not going broke, and it is so easy to fix. That's why nobody's fixing it. Because they're going to wave a little magic wand. They're going to increase the payroll tax by 1%. I'm predicting this. 1%. And poof, oh, we got the revenues to pay the bills. We're good. Okay, let's move on. That's how silly this is. It's being completely overblown and way out of proportion. What people should be talking about is funding Medicare. That's where the big funding problem really is. All right. And the next one, 70 and a half. We still have that number out there. That used to be when you started required minimum distributions, but it is not anymore. But we still have it for QCDs, qualified charitable distributions. Now, this is a pretty cool one, and we tweaked it a little bit. They snuck this one in. There's a pretty cool little caveat at the end here. So, first of all, this is when you're allowed to transfer completely tax-free money from your IRA to a charity. So if you're going to give to your church every year or whatever you're giving to, whatever charities you give to, this is the most efficient way to give money to these charities going forward. So once you hit 70 and a half, just to make it difficult, start giving only directly from your IRA. This will eventually, once you hit required distribution, these do qualify as required distributions, even though they're not taxed. That's cool. You're forced to take money out. If you're charitable anyways, just give it to the charities and it won't affect your tax return. That's fantastic. That eliminates that from your income. This is going to help you control that IRMA, that shadow tax, that higher Medicare premium as well. Okay, no itemizing needed. It's completely eliminated from taxable income when it goes directly from your IRA to the charitable organization. The limit is $108,000 per year, and the funds must be transferred directly to a qualified charity. Okay, these are only from traditional IRAs, inherited IRAs, inactive SEPs and simples, meaning those self-employed plans, you can't still be currently self-employed and contributing to those plans. Qualified charities, they have to be IRS approved, donor advised funds, private funds, and these supporting organizations, they're not included. You can't send your money to your donor advised funds or any of that type of stuff. But vast majority of churches and all the regular charities out there are absolutely included in this. You can't benefit from this, meaning you can't go donate $108,000 to a charitable contribution that gives you a charitable annuity and starts paying you back. But in the Secure 2.0, they let you do a one-time contribution of $54,000 to something like a charitable annuity, a split interest entity. And that's kind of cool. So you get to take $54,000, send it to a charity. That charity then is obligated to pay you the annuity, and you benefit from it. And it was a completely tax-free transaction. It's kind of a neat idea. So it's a small amount. For some people, that might be fun, but just know that there is that new little caveat out there. All right, so 70 and a half charitable contributions come from your IRA, period. Don't do it any other way. Age 73/75. All right, so here's the thing. 73/75 is your required minimum distributions. We keep moving this ball. So, who knows? By the time you reach 75, it might be 80. We might eliminate it. Who knows? But here's the thing. If you were born 1951 to 1959, your required beginning age is 73. So the calendar year you turn 73, you have to take your first required minimum distribution. If you were born after 1960, then your required beginning age is 75. So the calendar year you turn 75, you must start taking money out of your IRA. That's really what a required distribution is. They don't want it tax deferred forever. They want you to start taking money out. It's not an actuary table. This chart goes all the way to 120 something years old. So they're not trying to spread it out for your life, but your heirs are going to probably have 10 years. There's some exceptions and rules about that. I've got other videos on. At 73, it starts at 3.7%. 75 is 4. 80, it starts hitting 5. 85, you're already at 6. 90, so you can see it's a larger percentage you have to pull out every year. And don't get confused. These are not calculated as percentages. They're called factors. They're divisors. You take the total amount of money you had at the value of the beginning of the year and you divide it by these factors, and that tells you how much you're required to pull out. So I have a whole hour and a half long class on this. So lots of endless information on these required minimum distributions. Do not miss them. There's big penalties. All right, I hope that helps. This gives you all the way from 50 years old rules all the way to 75 years old. That's that transition period for most people into retirement. This is the kind of the phase that I love. There's so much planning and so many things, but those are a lot of those milestones that you really do need to know about, and they help you kind of pencil out what you're going to do. So if I can help in any way, certainly let us know. Yourinvestmentcounselor.com. You can jump on there and schedule an appointment with me. It's a free meet and greet. You can say hello, ask your questions, and I'm happy to answer anything. We do full classes at a nonprofit organization. The website is fpfeaz.org. We run the Arizona branch, and they're broadcast all over the world. So jump on that. Go to the class schedule. You can register for classes. We do a different topic every month. All the classes are anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half long. Certainly give us a call, subscribe, share, like, do all those fancy little things out there. And we will see you next week. We do new videos every week, and that's why you want to subscribe to the channel. Thanks again. We'll see you soon.